Hello,
Hello.
everybody, and we are live. How are you, Gary?
I'm doing well, my friend. Excited to be here with you. Happy Tuesday.
Same to you. Happy Tuesday, everybody, and thanks for all of the amazing feedback we gotten from our last episodes, and I really appreciate people logging in to this episode. So, for people which are new to this, is I met Gary a few months ago, and I absolutely love the framework what he has. I love when he speaks about all of the things because when he speaks about it, I always said, hey, maybe he needs to do the word chef in front of it, restaurant doer, because it's so universal. I absolutely love that. So I approached him a few weeks ago and said, hey, Gary, can we do for the month of August provide free content out there to the marketplace? And we wanted to call it from operator to author or from operator to restaurant or whatever it is, but we want to give you tools to anybody listening in uh, to look at your project differently, look at what you're doing differently, and hopefully learn a few things how to make it better. And that's what this is all about. So, with that, Gary, thanks for being here on this beautiful.
My pleasure. Thank you for the lovely invitation. I appreciate it. Excited.
So, today we want to talk about how to build real authority. And when you talk about this, we using this platform because what Gary is really, really good at is looking at who you are and how you can build that missing authority. For me, Gary is amazing at it. And over the last two classes, that's exactly what we talked about. From hospitality, or if you want to do a coaching career, or if you're too busy to do any of it, Gary is really, really good at it. And so today, again, we building authority. So with that, I want to turn it over to Gary. Maybe you give it a 2 minute cliff note on who you are, besides me just bragging about it.
Sure. So my name is Gary Montalvo. I am a leadership mindset coach, consultant. I work with heart-centered entrepreneurs and founders to support them in bringing self-leadership into their businesses and their projects. When we think of leadership, we often think of like leadership out there. And yes, you need to have that. But what I'm really interested in is how do you lead yourself? How do you bring yourself through the challenging parts, through the growth moments, through the opportunities for you to level up and ultimately grow your business and grow your impact, which is what I think most of us care about. I'm a speaker. I host my own podcast, The Ownership Game. I've been doing this for almost 20 years now, and I love it. And I get to play with great people like Christian over here. So, um,
So,
so
Gary, let's
yeah.
talk a little bit. How can people in their sphere of influence, how do, in your opinion, and what you work with your thing, how can they become an authority?
Well, I think we probably have to start with why that matters.
Mm-hmm.
And when authority is a tricky word because you can, it's like authority, like, you kind of, it kind of conjures up images of your parents bending over, going like, "You did not take out the garbage." Um, so, you know, we're not
Oh,
when we talk about authority, we're not talking about like controlling or commanding or in some respects command, but not from dominating or any of that stuff. It's really a perception,
mm-hmm.
right? It's the you are creating a perception with people that they can trust you, that you know what you're talking about, that you are an expert in this area. And that can trigger like imposter syndrome.
Yep.
You can also be an authority and very confidently say, I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah.
You can very, very much be an authority and say, I don't know how we're going to get through that. But what I can tell you is that you and I are going to sit down and we're going to figure this out together. Like that has authority, right? But because sometimes people think that it's like, oh, I don't have to know everything. I have to know what to do. I have to know. So when you're in the game of creating impact, you need to leverage people. You need to
Mhm.
leverage the impact that people make. You need to multiply yourself. In order to multiply yourself and have people need to trust you. And so one of the things that has people build trust in you is that you are an authority, or that you carry yourself as an authority, that you are willing to
Mhm.
have difficult conversations, provide leadership during certain moments.
Yeah.
And again, it doesn't mean you have to have it all figured out, but it does mean that you're willing to be part of the conversation and provide leadership in
Love
that
that. Love
conversation.
that.
Primarily, that starts with you,
Mhm.
right? And that's the work that I do with people, having them tap in to understand, because all this stuff comes in play. Like, there's cultural stuff, there's socioeconomic stuff, there's like your beliefs and your all that stuff plays a role in how you carry your authority.
Yeah.
Some of us were taught that, like, I'm the child of immigrants, so my strategy for my parents was like, keep your head down and work hard.
Mhm.
Right? That was the strategy that was given to me. Keep your head down and work hard. That'll get you far. That'll get you somewhere, but as it doesn't have a lot of authority. Right? So when I'm out in the world building my business, sharing what I do and really out to make an impact, I had to really deal with the parts of me that were trained to not take up space, to not draw attention to myself, to not, take the spotlight.
Mhm.
Um, those are all things that, so my point in saying all this is that we all have work to do to unravel whatever there is to unravel, so that we can be fully in ownership of our authority, of our expertise, of our
Yeah.
contribution, of our
Love
impact.
that. Love that.
So that's a lot of the work that I do with
Mhm.
people, helping them. And then the other part of that is learning how to communicate that in such a way that people want to work with you, that people want to follow you, that
Mhm.
people want to get invested in you. So those are the two components. And I think once that's in place, then they're ready to do the kind of authority building that you help people do, which is how to now take that out and communicate it into the world in such a way that people understand what you're up to, that people, that now there is a culture and a community building around you, that
Yeah.
now there is a movement building around you, that people have a deep, that people are invested in your journey just as much as the people that work with you, right? That now they're invested as well and coming along on this journey with you. And that turns into customers, that turns into
Mhm.
investments for your business, that turns into collaborations, that turns into free marketing yeah, for the business. Like, there's just a huge, massive impact that it can have. Did you wanted to say something?
Yeah, no, you spot on. And for me, I wanted um, our listeners, and maybe step back. Most people or leaders think that chaos is the enemy, whatever you want to call it. But the truth is, chaos sometimes becomes the birthplace of something which is your next breakthrough. And for me, the reason I love having this conversation with you is because you and I, so full transparency, as we start this thing, I kind of come in and I say, hey, Gary, we're doing this, we're doing this, we're doing this. So today I showed you something new and you said, oh, you need to do this and you need to do this. So for me, what I absolutely love about you is your willingness to kind of help people, but also there's a question we want to ask our listeners today. When was the last time you broke something on purpose? And maybe you discovered that actually it made your business better.
Mm,
And for me, the reason I'm asking this question because what I just shared with Gary before we went into this session here today was for me all of the process we are going through in creating something different, the process we going different to serve our clients better than anybody else. And so for me, showing you this, for me, we totally revamped our business. And for us, we have tools which we absolutely love. There are systems we absolutely love. And we said, hey, how can we help a client to gain authority with a book? That's our thing. We wanted it a book. But then we said, hey, how can we help them bring that to the marketplace? And there's something you absolutely amazing said. You said over here on my notes.
I'm like, I don't even know what I said now.
And he's a Christian. What you do more than helping somebody just publish a book, you help them create authority. And it's so true because for us, we have the tools and the processes in place to doing exactly that. And that's why I said you need to ask, or we need to ask this question: when was the last time you broke something on purpose?
Yeah.
And during this process, you actually realized that I made something better. And for me, as we started this process, we were all about not breaking it on purpose. Now, when I think back, that's exactly what we did. But I said, hey, how can we create something? And for me, there's a lot of people out there which doing similar stuff as we do. But I know we can serve our clients much better than they can. And be willing to go out of our way to go really deep with them. And so I share with you a few things, and maybe you want to share a little bit of the stuff you've seen from us today. So one of the things is, if people know, we help people create authority with a book, because I think this a book is the single best way for people to get their message out there and do what they need to do. And so what we help our clients with, we actually build um, a full AI model on them. And I share with you one of our clients. We feed the AI model, I think, 170 something websites on data on stuff. And I shared this with our client last Friday, and he was laughing. He says, oh my God, this thing thinks the way I did. It speaks the way I do. And he said, I want to have a copy of that. So, but for us is it was out of necessity more than anything else, because we wanted to have some short term answers, and we create a mini model of you. So we doing that, and then also we have a few other platforms where we support some stuff. And I shared with you, we help a few people with podcasts and everything else. But how was that experience for you? Let me ask you and put you on the spot here, seeing some of the stuff we do.
You know, if I'm being really honest with you, it was a perfect example of somebody who has like just a lot of genius, but they don't necessarily, they're trying to figure out how to talk about it.
Hmm.
Like, I was shocked that I was like, "Wait, you're not talking about any of this stuff in any in our lives. What are you doing? Like, you're literally like, th- okay, let me back up. There's a because I think there's a couple of things that you're really pointing to that I wanna just unpack here. So number one, I think you're really displaying the value of having a strategic partner, a mentor, someone who has more expertise than you in a particular area,
Mm.
right? The reason, when you're talking to me about authority, you can very easily see, one of the first things you said to me was like, "Oh, Gary, you're missing a book. We got to get this book going on," because you can clearly see from your vantage point where the holes are. And me with my leadership training, I can clearly see one. I was like, oh no, you need to talk more about this. You need to own this part more. You need to create this framework around here. So, one of the things that I think gets us in trouble is that we try to do everything ourselves, and we have these tools like ChatGPT and all these tools that make it easy for us to try to do things ourselves, but it doesn't mean that we should.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It doesn't mean that we should, because we each have, you have the decades of experience. I have decades of experience. that allow us to have that insight and that intuition. And so one the first thing is you're really just modeling the value of having a strategic partner, mentor in the area that you're trying to grow in,
Hmm.
right? I think that that has to be said.
Yep.
The other thing that I think you're pointing to is that anytime we're stepping into a new phase, right, there's a learning curve that happens to build the authority in that,
Hmm.
right? So you are masterful at the books. You've been doing that for years. You have this track record. You've been kicking butt. In the recent couple years, you've launched this media company because now you went from the book launch. Now you really are a full stop media company for people who are building their authorities and don't have time to
Hmm.
implement. You will produce their podcasts.
Yep.
You will get their books sold. You will set up their landing pages. You will launch the social media. You will set up their funnels. You will set up their like literally white glove service. You will do it all for them and build it out.
Hmm.
But, if we can be vulnerable here, just because you've been doing the book thing longer and the other stuff is more recent, you're there's a little squirrely part in your brain that gets all like, you know.
Okay.
Meanwhile, I'm over here like, wow, dude, you're a badass. I can't believe you're doing all this. You've got 10 people on your team. You're building chat GPT, AI robots. You know, but the little part of your brain is like, it's like, I was like, why haven't you talked about any of this stuff in our last three podcasts? Like, you went on my podcast and you didn't mention any of this. Like, what is going on?
So full transparency is you hit it spot on. For me, um, I wrote now 41 books. And, this year alone, we wrote 4 ebooks and so many other things. So I know what a book can do. The other stuff, what we built, I'm kind of learning as we build this thing, how can we serve our clients better than anybody else? And as we build this, I'm sitting here saying, ah, this client is really busy. I can't really get a hold of him. I have some questions. Oh, I built a mini AI of him. So we built this mini AI of him. And then we sitting here and saying, oh, you know what? He has most of his website stuff on WordPress. I didn't even know WordPress still exists. Nothing against WordPress. Great format. But that's not the way you need to communicate because you need to get some data back. So we build this structure where we can build a website for you in a very short period of time. And then so we built all of these tools to serve our clients better than anybody else. And for me, I can see, and it's funny you said that, because for me, just with a conversation that says, hey, we need to do this for them. We have a way to build audiobooks. We do all of that for you. And it's really for us is we created out of necessity because we wanted it to be better than the guy down the street. And for me, one thing we learned was um, anybody who comes into our sphere of influence, how can we serve them better? Not just better, we want to make sure they actually launch the book and the book becomes an impact for them. So we built this structure, this support system around it because that's exactly what we wanted to do. And for me, it's hard to talk about that because I'm still learning and we kind of trying to put it all together.
Yeah.
And but for me, hands down, I know if you sign up with us, we can build you an absolutely amazing strategy and we can do it all for you. And you don't need to worry about, hey, what am I going to do with the podcast? We have a full way of how we can support you with a podcast. We can take the people which sign up to an event, we can communicate with them. So we learned all of that.
Yeah.
And then for me, that's what we love about you. Because for me, what you just said was the reason we built all of this because I learned it and it was difficult for me. And for me, I surrounded myself with a team which is really good at that stuff. So, but for me, is what I want any of the listeners to know is who can I surround myself with which knows what I don't know, and how can I have somebody who can help me build authority, and that's what we're talking about today. And for me, I you're very kind in saying all the nice things about what we're doing, but we built this infrastructure to help anybody from how to get a book done. And let me digress a little bit because I talk a lot about this in our book course. We did this the very first time. We had 23, 28 people, whatever, less than 30 in it. And we had 6 books. And I was sitting there, I was like, okay, it's great we have 6 books. What happened to the other people? How come they didn't write? So we created the tools. And for me, I'm a problem solver by nature. I was like, why didn't they launch? Why are they not doing? So we build some tools which helps them launch. Then we were like, oh, we had the next group, we only had 18, but we had 14 people launch a book. And my team was like, yes, we got 14. I was like, but there's 4 which didn't. What can we learn? And so we created the infrastructure where can, you hear me say this all the time. When you write a book, there's 3 places you need help. And the number one is really simple, is getting really clear what is the intent of the book. Because if I write a book about you, Gary, the book might be different than when I want to sell Gary, or if I want to make sure Gary is an authority. Total different way I write it.
Yeah.
The second place where people need help with is there is this little platform or whatever you want to call it. There's this little thing where it says, oh, I'm not sure why I'm writing it. Somebody wrote this book already. And I don't know why they would listen to me because I never wrote a book before. That self-doubt, that's where Gary comes in because Gary is really good in helping your mindset. So when I talk to Gary, I learn some stuff and then we teach this to our people. And the final thing is, what am I going to do with the book? ISBN, licensing, all of the stuff which goes in. That's where people need help with. Then we also realized, how can we help them outside of that? Because a book is only good why you go out there and promote it. If you stop promoting it, the book runs out. So we said, hey, how about we help you launch a podcast? Because if somebody gets really, really good in writing a book or gets really tuned in, they are just an amazing thing to talk to about how do you do this. So we help you launch this podcast. We doing all of that. So we built the tools out of necessity to make our clients succeed. And that's really what we do.
And what I love about what you're talking about is you're really displaying like personal authority in the face of not having a result, not knowing what to do. Like your innovation is really coming out of a problem solving. Your innovation is really coming out of you hitting an obstacle and a roadblock and going, oh, this is not the outcome that I want. We can do better.
Mm-hmm.
And out of you having the wherewithal to reflect, ask those questions, and not go into like beat up and judgment and what's wrong with me and all the things that very often do. You go into, how can I solve this problem? How can I bring this to the level that I really want it? And so inside of that, you're innovating and you're coming up with new solutions. And I think that it so there's 2 things, we always grow from a breakdown.
Mm-hmm.
Well, excuse me. There's always an opportunity to grow from a breakdown, I should say.
I love that.
You may choose that opportunity or you may not. But what I was trying to say originally is that if you look at what are the things in life that grow us or expand us, or it's usually some kind of friction, some breakdowns happen, something happened that's now causing you to evolve and grow.
Mm-hmm.
And you pointed to this earlier. You can manufacture those events. You
Yeah.
can manufacture that chaos by taking something on, like, okay, I'm launching my book. I'm launching my podcast. Now you can minimize the chaos by having like an expert like Christian and his team to help you sort it out, get you there quicker, but it's going to be a certain amount of chaos no matter what, because you have to figure out solutions and
Mhm.
concepts and articulate. And but that process of writing a book, it's going to force you to think about what matters and how it matters. What are your values? What is it that you want people, you know, you're not, and we see this all the time. People will just create content, create books, create things
Mhm.
without any real strategy. They create a podcast without any real strategy. They create oh, I'm
Okay.
supposed to create content. So you just go and you start to create content. But it's like, but what's the purpose? What are you selling yourself? Are you selling your service? Are you,
Mhm.
like, that's a very important question that you modeled, because without having that from the very beginning and understanding where does this play a role in your marketing ecosystem, in your authority building ecosystem, then from the very beginning you're gonna go off shot, because your target is off.
Mhm.
So I'm so glad that you shared that story, because there's just so many great lessons in there.
Yeah, and for me, I hope our listeners realized. By the way, this is not staged. Gary
Oh,
is coming
we're
on to this thing,
totally off script right now.
and for me, what I love about it,
There was a script, but
what I love about this is the shit you're so good at. And I honestly, anybody listening, go back 3 minutes on how he dissected what we're doing here and how to put it into form. And that's just Gary. That's why I absolutely love you. You're so good at
thank
that stuff.
you.
And for me, you make it look like, oh, no big deal. I just this is how you do it. And then for me, and by the way, anybody listening so far, if you write authority on the notes below, we gonna send you our zone leadership map. We call it a 3 zone leadership map, and we're gonna send it out because there's really 3 zones. What we call the operator zone is somebody who is reactive, they have just no visibility. Then zone number 2 is really simple, and we call that the owner zone, because you organized, you profitable, and you still, you know what, you out there, but you still hitting a little bit. And then we have the third zone, which we call the author zone. It's where you have influence, where you have a brand, where you have story, where you have impact. And for me, that's really the best thing what comes out of it. So if you write authority, I'm more than happy to send you our 2-page document we put together for that, is how you actually get there and how you're doing this. Because Gary always asks that clarifying question, where he comes to me and says, "Hey, let's make this practical." Can you talk to us a little bit about that and help our listeners to get to know a little bit more about not just how Gary thinks, what is his zone you are in actually today?
What zone am I in today?
Yeah,
Oh
because I
man.
want people really. So, wh- people know. So there's 3 things I absolutely love about you. You have this really innate ability on seeing a problem and breaking it down and make it so
Yeah.
simple. Okay, that's your genius. The second thing is you're an amazing human being. Because I honestly think you come from that 100% service point of view where you want to provide the best for that. And for me, I getting goosebumps talking about it. Okay, this is your zone. But the other thing is when you show up, I always said the 3 zones really came from working with you, because there is a different Gary who shows up when I need him to. And so you have that innate ability to go between the 3 zones, whatever you want to call it. And for me, you constantly move between the operator zone, the owner zone, the authors, and the authority zone. And so maybe you want to talk a little bit about that to our audience.
Yeah.
How do you do that, and how, where where is that coming from?
I mean, I think so. I think the first thing to say is that you need all three,
Hmm.
right? There are times where being an operator is absolutely um, appropriate,
Yeah.
and there are times where being in the author is what's more appropriate.
Yeah.
Where we get in trouble is when we get fixed, when we get attached to one, when we get hyper focused on one. And that can happen for a lot of reasons. It can happen because you have a blind spot and you just don't really know that you're doing it. It can happen out of habit and familiarity and comfort. It can happen out of avoidance because being in the author zone is very often confronting and scary, because now I have to own my leadership and I have to put myself out there, and I
Yeah.
don't and that's something that scares me. So the I think number one is you want to just develop an awareness for yourself. What are the
Hmm.
things that trigger you? What are the things that avoid you? What are the things that you seem to be more comfortable at? What are the things that when they come up, you shrink
Yeah.
and you shrink your power?
Yeah.
And the thing about awareness work is that you have to be neutral about it. If you're like fucking with yourself when you're trying to be aware, excuse my French, but I really wanted to put an accent on that. If you're like messing with yourself, I only give myself one.
Hmm.
If you're messing with yourself while you're doing the assessment, then you can't like assess because you're busy judging,
Yep.
right? If you look at going back to what Christian modeled so beautifully, he wasn't, I mean, maybe you did have a part of you that said, "What's wrong with me and what's wrong with this program? Why do we only have 6 books?" Like maybe he did, but that's certainly not what led,
Hmm.
right? Like that's not what took now charge of the next steps. He was looking at like, okay, I have 6 books. I had 30 people in the program. What the heck happened? Like, let's look. Where are people falling short? Where are they stopping? Where are the parts of the program they didn't do? And then let's innovate solutions,
Yeah.
right? If you're judging that, you would have gotten stuck in that judgment. You wouldn't have gotten to the next part. And you probably would have not tried again, or it would have taken you a lot longer to fill the next program,
Hmm.
or when it's time to fill the next program, you would have been so caught up in like my failures from the last one. And so it just messes up the whole conversation. So you got to really get practical around not developing the ability to not judge while you're assessing and evaluating, right?
Yep.
Um, the other thing is you're going to be in different levels at different times in different areas of your life. When it comes to, I'll be really vulnerable with you right now.
Hmm.
When it comes to my coaching and when it comes to my leading, I'm an author. Very clear, very, in ownership of what I do. I understand my craft, I understand my skill sets.
Hmm.
When it comes to my social media, I'm probably still an operator. I'm still
Hmm.
in like, what are my systems? What am I talking about? How do I do this? Whatever, yeah, That's one of the reasons I do a podcast, because if you put me in a podcast, I can showcase my authority
Hmm.
without having to go through some of the other stuff.
Yeah.
So it's okay that in some areas you are operator, and in some areas you are author, and in some areas you're an owner. That's totally fine.
Hmm.
That's totally fine. Again, don't judge. But
Yeah.
look, okay, well, I'm an operator over here. I need to step more into my owner and my authority. How do I bring more authority into, oh, let me partner up with Christian in this live series that we're doing,
Hmm.
right? That's a way for me to do this more authentically and bring more content and more value in a way that works and showcase my authority. That solution works for me,
Yeah.
right? What are the ways that you can make this work for you? If we get caught up in the judgment and the assessment, then we're not coming up with solutions. Now we're focused on what's wrong with me.
Hmm.
And what's wrong with you is that you're a human being with human being problems. And that's it.
I know.
And
I absolutely love that. And for me, um, let me maybe move it into something else, what
Yeah.
our listeners will look, because I honestly feel, um, that odd zone, or whatever you want to call it, it also have some myths in it. Because for me, working with the writers we work with, we find they all fall into those three categories. And so let me give you three myths which we can debunk here, and which you just really debunked. So for me, the first one is what a lot of our writers come in and says is that whole chaos is recklessness. You know what? I think the truth is that recklessness ignores outcomes, but
Mm,
chaos, or the chaos zone, seeks that breakthrough. And that's for me what you just so elegant, nicely said about me. That was always my thing. If we have 26 people not writing a book, shame on me, because I know how to write a book. How can I make it better? And then for me, myth number two is chaos means I'm losing control. I'm just out there all on my own.
mm,
And the truth is really simple. You control the frame, not the variety. Okay, think of chess versus symphony. Okay, really simple. And then the final one is what I always call is chaos is just for people starting up. So it's just for startups. You know what the truth is? If you look at an Amazon, if you look at a Tesla, if you look at a Netflix, they stay relevant because they create chaos zone on purpose. And that's exactly what you just talked about. We need to live into this, because in order to have authority, we need to kind of debunk some of those things, because all of the things what people saying is, hey, you can do this. What makes people great? And for me, that's the beauty about that. And if you haven't done so, uh, you need to guys need to check out Gary, because the way he supports his clients, the way he supports you, and hopefully you're gonna get in there. When he says, "Oh, my social media is not really the way I want it to be," I look at his social media saying, "Crap, Gary did this was really, really good. I need to copy that." Or how can I, kind of live into that? So, because for me, and that's so many of us, for me, I look at how can we get more people to write a book? And so we created this about a year and a half ago now. We created this big goal, our audacious goal, where we said we want to have 1 million people write a book with us, because we know a book can change your life.
yeah.
And so for me, you always talk about this, but for me, it's really simple. Any of those three myths we just debunked is where people get stuck on. And they need somebody like you to kind of look beyond that and saying, hey, let me make you look at things differently. And we talked about the last time. I always come back to my quote I learned from Mr. Wayne Dyer. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And you are so good at this, Gary. And so, for our listeners, if you haven't done so, run over to Gary's
Run!
website. Check him out, because he's amazingly good at
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
it. And I hate him for it, because he makes it sound so simple. And so, but before we wrap up, I want to talk to you about something else.
Yeah.
One of the things we said, we want to keep hold people to account. So we have a little call to action for anybody who's still listening. I want to know, and I want you to write it on the comments below. What is one, maybe a story or something you're sitting on that could make you an authority? Because when Gary talks about it, that's the first thing I was thinking about it. Hey, what is a story you're sitting on that could make you an authority? And I'm interested what people gonna um, kind of come back on. Also, if you write, hey, Christian, give me the three zone leadership map, we will get you that and email it to you. It's really simple, because the three things Gary talked about, I think work for everything. It doesn't matter if you sell windows, if you sell food, if you sell mindset, it works for everything. And then for me, that's one thing Gary is so good at. And the reason I asked him to partner with us on this, because everything he teaches, if I put the word chef in front of it, restaurateur, or book writer, or author, whatever, it's so universal and it works for anybody. And that's a thing Gary is really good at.
Yeah. Well, we think that we so one of the myths is that we think that it's just us. We think that, oh, I'm the only one that feels that way, that dealing
Mhm.
with. I'm like, no, it's human. It's a human problem. It's a human
Yeah,
condition. So whatever career, whatever situation, whatever stage of life, you're dealing with humanity.
yeah,
And the quicker that we can embrace that, quicker we can let ourselves off the hook
that
and get
is
to
true.
work.
Yeah. And so for me, also, please write us below. What is a story you're sitting on that could make you an authority? And we talk about this a lot because the things which you have to overcome, if there's a thing you have to push yourself to get better at, that's something you need to focus on. And it's as simple as that.
Awesome. Thank you guys for joining us. This was fun.
Yeah. So with that, if you haven't done so, make sure you guys check out Gary. Go to our website, click.
Go check out Christian. Go check out Christian and his and all his offerings.
Yeah. And then if you haven't done so, make sure you share this episode with somebody you feel can learn from that, or somebody who's stuck in that, in one of the myths we talked about, or in one of the zones where they need some help. So, with that, I want to say thanks for being here today, Gary. Any final words of wisdom for anybody listening today?
You can do it.
And it's so true because every great business has a story, and that chapter is, or that's a chapter of chaos. I really believe that, because the question is, will you fight it, or will you use it to write your next chapter? And that's what we here for. So hopefully, you write us below and we give you the three zone
That
leadership map. So with that,
that.
I want to say thanks for being here today, Gary. You are amazing as always. Thanks
Thank you,
for
brother.
listening
You're,
in.
you're a
And
joy.
to our listeners, make sure you hang tight, because we're gonna come two more times before the month of August is done. So with that, thanks everybody for listening in. Hopefully there was some value to you, and we see you next Monday.